is the Slow Bill Podcast. Yeah. All right, Slow Bill. We're getting back into it. All right. People in Christian chapter 2. All right, here it comes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Owen, Chapter 2, Date 1, The Ghoster. Let me tell you about Vanessa. Vanessa was, on paper, everything I would have designed in a lab if someone had handed me a clipboard and said, Owen, describe your ideal match. Go. She was funny. Genuinely funny. Not just Olo funny, but the kind of funny where she'd land a joke in a text and I'd actually laugh out loud in an empty room like an idiot. She was sharp. She had opinions about things. Real opinions, not the curated, everybody agrees with me kind, but the kind where she'd say something and you'd think, I never looked at it that way, but yeah, actually. Her profile pictures showed a woman who clearly enjoyed being alive. One at a farmer's market, holding up a comically large zucchini with a completely straight face. One at what looked like a rooftop party, laughing at something off camera with the kind of laugh that makes you want to know what the joke was. I swiped right so fast I think I pulled something. When she matched back, I did a little fist pump in my kitchen that I will deny under oath. Our text conversation in the lead up to the date was, and I say this without exaggeration, one of the best conversations I'd had in recent memory. We talked about movies and she had taste. We talked about food and she had actual preferences, not just, oh, I'll eat anything, which is the dating equivalent of saying you have no personality. She made fun of my group photo. Specifically, she asked why I needed an arrow pointing at myself. Was I in witness protection? Was the group photo a decoy situation? And I laughed and told her about the friend who moved to Portland, and she said, of course he moved to Portland. And something about the way she said, of course, made me feel like I'd known her for years. By the time we made plans to meet for dinner, I was operating at a level of excitement that was, in retrospect, deeply unreasonable for a first date with someone I had never met in person. I told Marcus about her, and he was cautiously optimistic, which for Marcus means he said, she sounds cool, don't blow it, which is basically a standing ovation coming from him. I picked a restaurant that hit the right notes, casual enough that it wasn't intimidating, nice enough that it didn't look like I had no standards. I showed up 10 minutes early because I am that guy, and I sat at the table doing the thing where you check your phone, put it down, check it again, rearrange the salt and pepper shakers, check your phone again, make brief eye contact with a waiter, look away quickly, and check your phone again. And then Vanessa walked in, and she looked exactly like her photos, which, as I would later learn, is a minor miracle in the world of dating apps that should be celebrated with the same energy as a solar eclipse. She spotted me, smiled, and walked over. And I stood up to say hello with what I intended to be smooth, confident energy. What actually came out was, hey, hi, I'm Owen, obviously, you know that. Hi. Obviously. I said obviously. As in, she obviously knew my name because she was there to meet me. I narrated my own identity to a woman who had specifically arranged to meet me. Great start, Owen. Phenomenal. Really nailed the opener. She laughed, thankfully, and said, I'm Vanessa, obviously. And just like that, we were off. For the first hour of that dinner, I want to be honest with you. It was fantastic. The conversation flowed the way good conversation does, where you're not counting silences or hunting for the next thing to say. You're just talking, and the talking keeps going, and the food arrives, and you barely notice because you're in the middle of something good. She was even funnier in person than over text, which is rare. Most people are funnier over text because you get time to edit yourself to land a punchline just right. In person, you're exposed, you're in real time, and the jokes either land or they float up to the ceiling and die quietly. Vanessa's landed. We talked about our jobs. We talked about our respective worst roommate experiences, which turned into a genuine competition for the title of most unhinged human being either of us had ever cohabited with. She had a story about a roommate who kept a live cactus in the shower for the ambiance. That made me put my fork down because I was laughing too hard to eat safely. I had a story about my college roommate who used to set 6 alarms every morning starting at 5:30 a.m. He'd sneeze on every single one and then wonder why people on the floor avoided him. It was good. It was really, genuinely good. I remember thinking, somewhere around the middle of the entree course, this is it. This is the one where it works out. I was mentally writing the story of how we met. The zucchini photo, the arrow pointing at me in the group shot, the farmer's market, the rooftop laugh, and I was already proud of how good the story sounded. And then, right around the time the waiter came to ask if we wanted to see the dessert menu, something shifted. I can't tell you exactly what it was. There was no dramatic moment, no sudden subject change, no obvious wrong turn. It was subtle. Like a cloud drifting in front of the sun. The light's still there, but something's different about it, and you can't explain why until you look up and see it happening. She checked her phone. Now, I want to be fair here. People check their phones. It's the era we live in. I'm not one of those guys who expects a woman to lock her phone in a lead box the moment she sits across from me. But there was something about the way she checked it. Quick. A little private. The screen tilted slightly away from me. That registered differently than just a casual glance. I kept talking. The waiter came, we said yes to the dessert menu, and I asked her something about the hiking she'd mentioned on her profile, because I was trying to keep the energy going. She answered, but shorter this time. Polite, but shorter. She checked her phone again. I told a funny story, one of my good ones. Road tested and reliable. She smiled, but the smile was doing a little less work than before, if you know what I mean. Like when a song you like comes on the radio, but you've already heard it twice today. So you leave it on, but you're not into it anymore. Dessert menus were placed in front of us. She looked at hers, looked at her phone, looked at her menu, said, "Oh, the creme brulee looks good." I agreed. The creme brulee did look good. And then she said, "Actually, I just remembered I have an early morning, so I might skip dessert." And I heard it. That tone. That very particular, gently apologetic, I'm wrapping this up tone. That you never misread once you've heard it. Now here is where I want to pause and really honor the comedy of what happened next. Because it is a masterclass in a phenomenon I like to call the slow motion ghost. The slow motion ghost is different from the regular ghost, which happens after the date when someone just stops responding to your texts and you never hear from them again. The slow motion ghost happens on the date, in real time, while you're still sitting right there. It's an in-person vanishing act. The body is present, the eyes are technically pointed at you. But whatever animated that person an hour ago has quietly packed its bags and left, and you're sitting across from essentially an extremely polite shell. Vanessa paid her half of the bill before it even arrived, in the sense that she had already gotten her card out and placed it on the table while I was still processing that we were leaving. That card appeared so fast I genuinely wondered if it had been in her hand the whole time, just under the table, waiting. We walked out. She said it was really nice to meet me. I said it was really nice to meet her too, and I meant it, which was the unfair part. She said we should do this again sometime. I said, yeah, definitely. She smiled. The full smile, not the reduced one from the dessert menu portion of the evening. And then she walked to her car, and I walked to mine, and I sat there for a second thinking, okay, that went well. That went pretty well. I texted her that night. Nothing heavy, nothing intense, just a simple, hey, had a really good time tonight. That roommate cactus story is going to live in my head forever. She left me on red for 24 hours and then sent back a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up emoji. After an hour and a half of what I believed, and still believe, was genuinely great conversation. After the zucchini photo and the laughter and the roommate competition and the farmer's market plans we'd loosely floated. After she said we should do this again sometime. After all of that, a single, solitary, absolutely soul-crushing thumbs up emoji. I texted back, undeterred, asking if she'd be free that weekend. Nothing. I waited 4 days and sent one more message. Casual, low pressure, one sentence, asking how her week was going. Nothing. And that was it. Vanessa, the zucchini farmer, the cactus horror story enthusiast, the woman with the perfect off-camera laugh, was gone. Into the void. As if that dinner had happened in a parallel universe and she'd simply stepped back through the portal and sealed it behind her. Ghosting, as a practice, deserves its own roast, and I am happy to deliver it. Let's think about what ghosting actually is for a second. It is a grown adult human being with a phone in their hand, consciously deciding that the most appropriate way to communicate, "I'm not interested," is to communicate absolutely nothing at all. It is choosing silence so deliberately and with such commitment that the silence itself becomes deafening. It is putting more energy into the not responding than it would take to just type out 8 words. 8 words! Hey, I had fun, but no connection. Take care. 8 words and a person's closure is delivered, their time is respected, and everyone moves on with dignity intact. But no. Instead, we get the thumbs up emoji followed by the void. I've thought a lot about why people ghost, and I've landed on a few theories. Theory 1. They genuinely believe disappearing is kinder than a rejection, which is the emotional equivalent of pulling off a bandage extremely slowly over the course of 3 weeks. Theory 2. They're conflict averse to the point where no thanks feels like picking a fight, which means they've confused basic communication with confrontation. Theory 3. They've done it so many times it doesn't register as unusual anymore because the apps have made people so interchangeable that the human on the other end of the phone has become slightly abstract. All of these theories are understandable. None of them make the thumbs up emoji sting less. The mild frustration I felt after Vanessa wasn't rage. I want to be clear about that. It wasn't the kind of thing that makes you swear off dating forever or write bitter things in journals at midnight. It was more like the feeling of reaching for a glass of water, knocking it off the table, watching it fall in what feels like slow motion, and then just standing there looking at the water on the floor thinking, really? Just really. Because the hope had been real. The connection had felt real. And then nothing. Marcus, to his credit, delivered his consolation with typical Marcus efficiency. She wasn't the one, he said. Next. He said, next, the way a sports coach says it after a loss. Not without empathy, but with a clear understanding that there is, in fact, a next, and dwelling isn't going to accomplish anything. I opened the app again. There was a new notification. A match. Profile said she liked coffee shops, true crime podcasts, and someone who can make me laugh. I can make you laugh, I thought. I literally just spent an hour and a half making someone laugh over a dinner that ended in a thumbs up. I have material. I am loaded with material. I typed out my opening message, and somewhere, my thumb was already hovering over the screen. Hope basically fully restored, ready to go again. Because that's the thing about the swipe life. The thing that kept pulling me back in, even when the exits were clearly marked. The hope is renewable. It just keeps generating itself, like some kind of emotional solar panel, converting every disappointment back into optimism through a process I don't fully understand, but was absolutely dependent on. Vanessa was gone. That was done. But the app was still there, and so was I. And somewhere in the stack of profiles was a woman who wouldn't reduce me to a thumbs up emoji. At least that's what I told myself at the time. Spoiler number 2. The next one was going to be a lot more complicated than a ghost. Because at least when someone vanishes, you know where you stand. What's significantly harder to deal with is when someone stays, but treats your emotions like a light switch they can't stop flipping on and off just to watch you react. That particular joy was coming up next.
Yes. That was chapter 2.
Chapter 3.
We know chapter 3 coming next. Come on. Yes. The slow build. That was chapter 2, the ghosting. Ooh. Woo! And every time it happens, it just, oh. Anyway, I work on chapter 3 next, you know? Listen to the outro. Come on. Slow build.